That takes us then to item number 75. I think this was pulled by Mayor Pro Tem. You're muted.
Sorry. I think this is a lengthy discussion that maybe we're having. Are we having the special called session? And so
Yes.
just generally. Go ahead.
And I think the indication I got, it was going to be Thursday afternoon, beginning at 1:30.
Okay. I guess I'll just note, because I don't know if, I'm assuming speakers will sign up to speak there, but I just wanted to point out that through no effort of mine, many of the speakers were speaking about RISE today and the need to increase the funding to that. We know that there are already organizations that have distributed all that funding and have asked for more, and it's my understanding that most Austin Public Health's idea was to give each organization like a one-time kind of fund kind of thing. And so as we move into more discussions on where that funding goes, I think it's important that we increase the amounts. You know, we're seeing historic unemployment rates, and heard loud and clear about more money needed for rental protections and the like. So I just pulled it because I wasn't 100% sure from the discussion on Thursday. You know, yes, Tuesday and today and not even just the hours that we spent talking about golf courses and open space and all that, which is very important stuff. But we've been talking about that particular golf course for like years now. And I just feel if we dedicated even half of the time we spend talking about those things, I'm proud of the work we've done. I think we've changed a lot of the things that we've focused on, but we need more discussion about helping our vulnerable communities and working families. We can't just look to them to build our economy. And then when things like this happen to you know, and not to say we've done a lot. I wish we could get more help from our state and our federal government, because a $1,200 check that many families still haven't even received is not doing very much help. So just general thoughts. And I honestly have to look back at 75 to see exactly what we're voting on, but I don't know if anybody else has any comments.
All right, Councilmember Kitchen.
Thank you. I just wanted to make it clear for everyone what the process is. Item 79 is doing nothing other than just appropriating the CARES Act fund, which is a technical step that the council needs to move forward with. It doesn't allocate the money in any way other than we've already done. What's before us, and what we'll address in the workshop, the work session next week. What's before us is approval of the big picture spending framework, which our staff laid out for us on Tuesday, which we'll continue to work on, and which next Thursday we'll have much more discussion about, as Mayor Pro Tem was highlighting. So I just want the public to understand that we are not we're not voting on the spending framework today, that our expectation is that next Thursday we will dig into the details. I really appreciate how fast the staff has been working with us on this, laying out something for us to work from and to continue to have some conversations between now and the work session. So, so I just wanted to make sure that was clear for everyone. And I don't know, I'd say this to the public too, the work session is scheduled for next week. We will, and from my perspective, we need to take some sort of vote on the spending framework, whether that's next week or that waits until June 4th. I don't know. That depends on the will of the group. But I think at some point we need to take a vote that indicates our general level of priorities in terms of the use of those funds.
And that was on my list of things to discuss next week. Following from, I think it was Kathy's, we were all in that meeting. We never had a chance to talk to each other at the last work session. So this is almost a continuation of the work session. It's being set that way so that we actually have a chance to really talk to one another about priorities and the like. And we can certainly talk together as a group as to what we want the subsequent action to be. Okay. Yes, Allison.
Thank you. So it's pitched as a work session so we can talk through
Correct.
issues, and then when we vote, we'll have more of the public.
That's correct.
Okay, great. I wanted to clarify that. And then in our fiscal cabinet, I think that's the cabinet, we were talking about this. We had a follow-up discussion based on our conversation on Tuesday, and I understand that Ed is going to be following up with some adaptations to the framework and the coherence, following some of the suggestions that came out of the discussion Tuesday and that we went over again there. One of those is to add a bucket for workforce development. Another is to kind of shape it so that it's a little easier to read, to figure out what's in what bucket, and we had talked about some things. So my expectation is that there'll be a slightly different version that will be coming to us next week for us to review. I think that, I feel fortunate that we have $170 million to assist us through this time, and it is my hope that the federal level and the state level will continue to recognize the need and help us help our community through this time. We are the closest to the community, and there's a lot that we need to do, but there's no doubt that more funding would help tremendously for us to address the many needs that we have.
Okay. Anything else? All right, Councilor Kassar.
So I just lost something you said near the end of your comments, Councilmember Alter. Did you say that the staff is bringing us a new version of that spreadsheet?
I don't know how much of it's changing what's in the buckets, but we had discussion of like how to reorganize it, and my brain's a little fried, so I can't tell you exactly what they were planning. Some of that built off of a suggestion I think that Mr. Flanagan had made, and then there were other suggestions that were made, and during the session and the discussion afterwards, it wasn't so much about how you allocate the money to different things as it was about how to make it helpful for us to work with when we're having the discussion.
Okay, it would just be helpful to know as early on as we could what we're going to exactly be talking about, because obviously it's important for each of us to know about it and for folks in community to sort of have expectations of where we're headed. So, manager, if there's any reconfiguring of it, the sooner we can get it, the better. For what is that? A work session next week, but not testimony or votes. Is that right?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Councilmember Kitchen.
Just to help clarify, Councilmember Flanagan had suggested some ways to organize that may be more intuitive. So it's more about organizing the presentation, not a change in the dollars in the buckets. So.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Flanagan. Jimmy.
Just to speak to that, a good example is that there are buckets that I think could be accomplished through RISE. There was also a RISE bucket, and that I think added a lot of confusion about what was or wasn't going to be increased. And so I think there's a way to simplify that, where that is not a choice we're forced to make as we approve a framework, but can still make it clear to the public that the things we accomplished with RISE are still buckets that are growing because they're titled rental assistance or they're titled food assistance. I think that'll make it easier for us to move forward.
Thank you. Councilor Kassar.
That's helpful, Councilmember Flanagan, for me to make really clear what I meant then on Tuesday. And I think you had mentioned it, what is labeled what is, I don't want that to be what gets in the way of us making a decision. For me, I think that significant amount of rental assistance is really important. I'm glad to have seen that there being some kind of more flexible direct cash or direct financial assistance was what I saw missing more than RISE, if that makes sense. When I said there is not very much RISE, RISE is missing in some ways. For me, what was missing was that mix of rental assistance and maybe adding some direct cash assistance as is possible. I think that some of the challenges that we saw also were sort of these first come, first served programs and jammed phone lines. And so I am also really interested as we get into this about how do we get help efficiently to people and quickly as well without worrying as much about the label of what it's called.
Okay, we can talk through a lot of these things next week at the work session. Anyone else want to talk about this? Let's take a vote then. Those in favor of item number 75. Someone want to move passage of item number 75? I need a motion. Councilmember Alter makes the motion. Councilmember Cassar seconds. Those in favor of 75, please raise your hand. Those opposed? It's unanimous on the dais. 75 passes. And then